Test. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Frankton. I'm the lead character artist in Naughty Dog. Today, we're going to just presenting some of our stuff in Uncharted 4. We're going to show some interesting workflows, including main character creation, some hair stuff, and shader stuff. Yubi's going to talk about it. And we have some skin stuff that we're going to show as well. All right. So let us start.
Start already?
No, you just introduce yourself.
Oh, hi. My name is Ibin Jia. I'm the shading artist of Naughty Dog. That's it?
Whatever you want to talk about.
Should I start?
No.
Or...
I'm Adam Scott, character artist at Naughty Dog.
Hey, I'm Colin, also character artist at Naughty Dog, of course.
And if you guys are interested in our personal work or professional work, you can just go to our art station and just type our name. It's all up there.
Oh, that's mine.
Yes, that's yours. So Yibing, yeah, you can start.
Okay. Hey, everyone. My name is Ibin. I'm the shading artist of Naughty Dog. Today's topic is... Can we switch the screen? Not that one? On this computer? Oh, okay, we got it. Today's topic, as you guys can see, is the insights of creating characters for Uncharted 4. If you guys are really curious about how we build the beautiful models, realistic characters, and how we deal with like wrinkle map details, for the next 20 minutes, you can just take a nap and grab a drink, and then come back, because I don't know anything about those. But as you know, if we're talking about creating the character for Uncharted 4, like shading is one of the important part. We'll talk about, since shading is one of the most important part of creating characters, I hope you guys can learn something like why shading is important in the process of creating characters, why real-time shading is difficult, and there will be some challenges we're facing when we're creating the different materials. And the first thing, why shading is important. If I want to use one sentence to describe what is character shading, the easiest definition will be it's a process to make the material look believable, to make the character look believable, the material. And I think we all can tell the difference, like, because you guys are all really good artists. Like, we can tell the difference between good character model and bad ones. So only if we have good model already, if we put really bad shaders, your brain can easily tell like something wrong there, like something is like, something is like Candy Valley and weird and plasticky or something. And it's really hard for us to feel the emotion of the characters and focus on the story. So as we know, like shading is important. And if you guys know me, you probably know like I've been working in feature films before, and I deal with the shading in feature films and then transition to real-time shading. And nowadays, there's a lot of really good films have really good shading quality. So what's the difference between the shading in movies and real-time shading? Of course, there will be a time differences, but how big is the difference? Actually, the render time differences is huge. Let's use animation film as an example. Nowadays, if you guys heard of the term like ray tracing, global illumination, or path tracing, those features are really expensive. And since animation studio all switched to path tracing, which means the render time. They got a really good physical-based lighting system, but render time is more and more. So nowadays, it's about 30 core hours per frame for regular animation film, which is used path tracing. So compare that to real-time rendering, which we use Uncharted 4 as an example, which is 30 frames per second. So we are 3,240,000 times around that faster than animated film render. So that's a huge difference. So how can we achieve film quality? Yeah, that's a learning curve. It's really difficult. And even when we do that, we have no idea how can we do that. So the story started 2012. That's the time when we started to build the character pipeline, shading pipeline. And I have been told that I cannot do too technical here. And but it's hard to not to use all those technical terms. Because of time limitation, I will go really fast. So for the next part of presentation, I will just go through really fast. And if you guys really interested, like all the details, what we do for the shading, I will show the link of course notes at the end of the presentation. So at early stage, when we developed the shading pipeline, we have made a lot of mistakes. So first, we treat the PlayStation 4 like a render farm. So we put a lot of really expensive features, and we thought everything would be physically based, because people talk about PBR a lot. So we thought if we use Disney principle BRDF in our engine, everything just look like movie. It's simple as that. But the reality is we cannot afford a lot of expensive features, and Disney BRDF is not enough to cover most of the character materials. So we go back, we figured out what we want. We need volumetric shadows, we need realistic details, and we need organic kind of feelings. And we made something look good and make sure look pretty, but we cannot run in real time. So we got ideas from the team, and we rewrite, and rewrite. Have no idea how many times, and we finally got the result we want. So next we're going to show some examples like how we did fabric and hair. We need to do fabric. I'm just go really fast because there's so much stuff to cover. We need to pick a number of different patterns, and then we model in Maya. And that's the way, we use the twist tube and use locators to define the shape, and we run the script to connect them together. And then we bake down to maps. That's the part ZBrush. We use ZBrush to bake the maps, yeah. And then that's the micro details. And in the fabric, we try to make sure there are no mapping issue because the texture is really small. And that's from the start is the Disney BRDF, and then we add fabric BRDF, adding more details, and more aging, and more details, wrinkles, and that's the final look of normal fabric. And then we put stitches. By the way, Colin got the idea. It's like, oh, let's do the stitches in the
Stitches
shader.
are cool.
Yeah, he got the idea. I made it in game. Here is play a video showing how we able to get those things in. Yeah, you can do it really fast. And you add some aging, add some micro details. And small wrinkles. And everything's code and encode. That's the stitchy part. You can choose any stitch you want, pick up the colors, Everything's writing in the shader code. So in this way, like the artist can actually easily focus on just the sculpture part and don't need to go too much about the details because they know the shader will cover those. So you've done the shirt in 5 minutes. Oh, the the setup shading part. Yeah, of course they spend a lot of time, sculpting. Yeah.
Of course.
We didn't do anything. I don't even know why we're here.
So how can I go further? Okay. That part is too technical. So yeah, they have like different kind of shading models for different kind of materials. And then you get a soft look. That's the code. If you guys actually want to read it. Yeah, I'll go really fast because I don't want to show the math code or anything. So you can see that's before the subsurface, and that's after. It's a little bit different, so you can feel the fabric feeling. And now it's hair. Hair is really important for most of the people. So
Except for me.
you want the hair look realistic, and the director want like blonde hair and curly hair and things like that. So this is actually the way we make hairs. They put cars in it, and we need to make sure those cars to look like volumetric hair. At the beginning, we tried to do something like a real hair, but then we realized tessellation shader is too much to handle, at least for now, our knowledge for PlayStation 4. Maybe in the future we can, but so far it's too complicated, so we use traditional haircut. And, sorry. And we shipped something, like a lot of people saw this already, the first E3 demo. We shipped something with really good quality, but we use a lot of features which are really expensive, like high-res transparency map, and alpha blend, multi-sample anti-aliasing, and all that crazy technical terms. But the thing is, those methods cost a lot of GPUs, and we cannot sacrifice the gameplay and design because those need GPU too. And we cannot just show the pretty characters. So the programmer got in and sent us a graph. It's like, basically they say the green color is you're okay, the blue color is you're okay, red color is you're over budget, and black is just extremely over budget. So, so dealing with that. So we figured out a way, and we try to not using as much alpha blend as possible, and then we change it to Dieter alpha, and then dealing with temporal, and that's caused another problem. You see that guy's hair is missing, and so the easy solution is the artist paint a really beautiful texture over there, and we just make them thicker and thicker until we can able to see the hair. And that's the result we got. Really look like cars, and that make everyone want to cry. Remember that time? Like everyone.
Remember that time.
And so we go back and looking for any solution we can make the hair look like hair instead of like cars. And we know that the vertex normal, like those issues exist, but since we use, before we use like high-res alpha blend and all that, we make those hide it pretty well. So we don't see those problems. And now when we use thicker hair, those problems pop out. First is the vertex normal. They're on the cars, they are like pointing at all the different directions. And also the shadow, because in-game shadow is really low res, and we need more opaque shadows for the hair, like transparent shadow for the hair. So That's Nadine. Frank did that. That's her cars look like. And the model I got was the one on the left. So you can see the normal is pointing at all the direction. That's why it doesn't look volumetric. It looks like cars. And then I need to make the unit 5 as that. There's a lot of patience when you do that. And it's really necessary because it's not just dealing with normals, and also it's fix the problem of disconnection of diffuse, specular, and backscatter. It's really important, this step. And also, the rigger gave us a tool to break down the textures so we can deal with different hair strains. So a lot of people thought if we paint the normal map, they can separate different hair strands. Actually, when the character really far away, the normal map don't really do anything because of min-mapping and everything. So we use ID map to break down the specular and backscatter. And that's actually make the hair strain pop out. So you can see different colors here. And that's ID map we're using. And also the shadow. We need volumetric shadow. This picture is not from us. It's a really famous paper, deep shadow map. And you can see with shadow, hair look like that. Without shadow, it's just look fake. And we try to get that. We build a lyric and just baking the hair. We did some reference, like what happened, what situation the shadow look like from one direction, in what situation it feel like really flat. And we realized for the production timing, we cannot really do that much about the light direction, maybe next game. So this time we just bake a shadow map, look like it's from different direction. A lot of people thought this is AO. It's pretty much the same idea of AO, but because the hair is transparent. So we need to, in this light rig, we need to set up light rigs to make the hair transparent, and then we bake the shadow. So you can see like the hair have depths. That's the result by using those depth map. And also we try to save time, like hair memory. So we did this, like the bake shadow, and then use the details above that. And this is too complicated, like how we implement them in the game. There's a lot of code. I will skip that. And then the part to make the hair look realistic is the scatter. We took some, like, there's scatter between the hair strings and the backless scatter, and that's how we did the hair scatter in between the hair strings. Use wrap diffuse. Yeah, that's really technical. so if you guys can read those codes, yeah, I will send you a link after. And also the backlit scatter, we just realized like the hair look like a sphere, and the backscatter feel like it's Fresnel effects on the sphere. So we use that to mimic. So it's definitely not physically correct, but it still look like realistic. So yeah, a lot of another code, and we get the backscatter. And then we use the ID map to break down it to make sure it looks realistic. Yeah, a lot of that. And also we show some idea. Is it playing? Oh, of how we did like shader package, like snow, the dynamic wear and tear. This was the idea is like we give the artists a few inputs, and then I'm coding a lot of things in the black box, and we find the result, final result. And that's a really good idea because the artists don't need to understand the complicated shader stuff, but they know what they want to look like, so they can play around with the sliders, which they can understand, and then I'm dealing with the rest. So that's some examples of the shader package, like fur, skin, and eyes. And we learn a lot from it. That's it. I think I ran out of the time, right?
It's okay. You're good.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Oh, thank you. So, yeah, if you guys really interested, like how we did those crazy things, that's the link. I did the present. Oh, where's the link? Sorry. Huh? That's the link. I did the presentation like 2 months ago in ZBrush, so all the code is in it. So still the secret. So I don't mind. Next is Adam.
Yeah, Adam
All
will be
right.
next.
Okay.
Hey guys, I'm going to go over
Have to go.
some of the behind-the-scenes scanning that we've done at Naughty Dog. So we had a scanner on the end of The Last of Us, and we just started really using it heavy in production during Uncharted 4. And a lot of our clothing, I'd say most of our clothing is done with the scanner. And we just started kind of ramping up our NPC heads with the scanner. But all the hero heads are still done with the hand sculpt. So let's see here. It's on the desktop?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that our folder? This one? Hmm?
The 0 something one.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, God. This one? All right, so here's a few example scans. These are the raw scans that we get from our hand scanner. So the important thing for us is to make sure that we're getting somewhat close to our pose while maintaining as much as the wrinkles that we can, the most that we'd use in game. So obviously, if you're bending your leg, you need to have something that that works for all situations during the animation. So let's see. There's another one. I was the model for a lot of these scans.
He's also the model for Drake. We have everything.
He has
we
the
just,
perfect body.
yeah.
Perfect.
Come on, show it.
It's amazing.
I'm married now. It's falling apart on me. Okay, this is actually Glowco. He was doing a sculpt today. So these are the raw scans. You can see that sometimes there's, can you see the mouse on here? Yeah. They're not fully clean. It requires a lot of cleanup. This arm here doesn't too many strange wrinkles, and so we just scanned it like this, and then we posed it after. So we tried using different ways to get to this quality level. We tried Marvelous Designer for clothing. We did hand sculpting, which can ultimately get you to this level. It just takes so long. So if you have something that's very similar in real life, then you can just scan that, get it in there, and then do the rest of the 10%, or at least have a base you can work from if you're doing something a little bit more unique. So that's why we're going through this, and it's been working pretty well for us. So for the clothing, this is a template that we put together, and this is used for any sort of part swapping character. A lot of the NPCs in Uncharted 4, we had Madagascar, we had some prison guys, some guys in the auction. They needed each torso to match to go with every leg set, and so this was set up so if we had a shirt that was tucked in, it had to tuck in and not stick out of the green, and if it was untucked, it had to fully stay above that green, and then any pants that were scanned, when we made the fitment to fit our base, they couldn't stick outside of this green area. So you can see it's a little bit thick, and it just made things so much easier, especially when you're doing a whole bunch of assets, and you just need to make sure that everything works. Because I've gone through situations we have a pretty poor template, and then you get one combo and it doesn't fit perfectly, so you move one, but then it makes it fail in another setup. So this is just a lifesaver. So the head scans, we just started ramping up on NPCs. I think in Uncharted 4, we might have maybe 7 or 8 head scans that we worked from. This is Icky. He's an effects artist at Naughty Dog, awesome guy. And he's got a great head to scan. There's a lot of character, and he's bald because hair's really tough to scan. So this is the rough scan that we took, and then here's kind of what it comes out to. This is an NPC character in the auction level. We actually scanned with some of the photo reference, or photo texture scan, and then projected everything back on. And then since we had unified UVs, we can share some of the color texture and then just kind of flop things together. So I'm going to show the process for quickly getting something in here. So from this scan, we had Icky in the game, end of the day. It's pretty quick. All right, and to show this scan, we're using Colin. So I scanned Colin. Yeah.
Do you have the same shirt?
No. I have like 8 of these things.
So Colin donated his head a couple days ago. So yeah, this is the scanner that got him. And so this is the raw scan within the scanning program. It looks like there's a bunch of holes, a lot of missing data. During a little bit of a cleanup, it'll fill those gaps. This is the rough texture that we get. We don't use any sort of Lightroom for this. We have a rotating model. It's a lot easier just to scan it, and the textures that we're getting from it anyway, we need them pretty flat, and we're fooling around right now with photogrammetry that is getting some pretty awesome results. But the scanner is just nice and rough, mostly getting the high poly ready, and then like a base texture to work from. Here's after just like an automated cleanup. You can see it's capping all the holes and kind of filling things, and the eyes are sticking out funny. And so the next step from this, this is with the texture on after that cleanup.
Looks just
Look, the eyes look creepy. It doesn't do reflective things that well. This is the yeah. He's still there.
That's what I look. That's basically what I look like unwrapped.
Yeah. We're spawning some life in there. So this is just, we do an auto unwrap of this in that program. Spits out this thing. And then from this, we're trying to get that mesh to match our base head to guarantee that the UVs match across all heads, and then we can share all of our skinning data, and we can use bits of like color textures and like share spec maps, like everything. It's super fast if we can get it on the base mesh. Where'd that other guy go? Okay, so we got a little video of, all right, that should do it. This is, how long is this? I think this is 3.5 minutes, sped up 4 times. And so I'm going to pause it a little bit. So I loaded in, this is just our base head, the faint one there, and I'm loading in, and I'm trying to match, the most important thing is the eyes, the mouth position, and then general ear height, of course, like the general proportion of the head.
Because every model, every NPC model in our game need to match just Drake's skeleton. That's why he's doing this.
Yeah.
He's fitting everything to match Drake's. But Drake is not a realist, like he's not a real human being. So when you match a real skin on top of it, there's a lot of stuff gonna be changed.
Yeah, there's an art style that Drake has that is, we try and carry over a lot of guys too. For NPCs, it's not as important, but for the hero and the main characters, it's important to kind of match that style. And scans were it's turned into be one of the fastest way to get some, a lot of diversity amongst our guys, other than just hand sculpting and working from base heads. So we're trying to match, this also, like doing this matchup here, getting it on Drake's base mesh, also helps us with multiplayer assets. If we were to use this head in multiplayer, we can do hat swaps and different hairs, and everything just works. So lining up here, getting the rough scale and the position, the rotation, priority on the eyes, mouth, ear height. Once aligned, I'm going to cut some of these things out, and then cut what I don't need, and then align let's see, yeah, the ears first. So I've matched as best I can, and now I'm matching, I'm pushing Colin's mesh to our base mesh, and the eyes, trying to get those in place. A little bit in the nose. So the more you move here, the less it's going to look like Colin, but you need to get that base matching perfectly. Matching some of the neck up. Some of the head shape. So there's, during this process, later on I'll be doing there's a lot of morph target to save off the original shape. And then I can always revert back to the Drake shape without, like if I were to do like a projection from Colin onto this mesh, which I'll do here soon. Drake has a really heavy eyelid on top of his, like the mass above his eyelid. So try and clear that up. I'm just morphing back areas that have a dirty projection. Some of the eyes aren't perfect here. There's definitely, this is, as far as like if I were to do a hero character with this is not what you want to do for the eyes. The eyes are very specific. But for NPCs, pretty limited animation, I think it flies. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Line everything up. So I've subdivided, clean up the highest division, and then I just keep projecting on. You can do ZBrush to get different areas, keep morphing back. This is, I projected so I applied I'm sure you guys know this. I applied the texture to the scan since it had UVs. That was that funky face where it looks like Colin's trying to escape. And so I applied that, and then I divided the scan mesh so I can convert that to polypaint, and then I can project the polypaint back on the mesh, the new mesh that we just transformed. I'm just morphing back the actual mesh, preserving the polypaint, getting like a rough, so you can see there's a whole bunch of light data in this. So that's Colin, that's our rough base. From here, this is what the projection looks like using paint. This is cleanup using some scan text or some other head color maps that we have from existing guys. You want to reuse as much as you can in production to speed up the process. And then throw in the game. This is in our engine, just quickly. So I think this whole thing, I just did a little demo for today. I think the whole process might have been 15 for the scan, 15 for that cleanup, and then maybe another 10 for textures. And then we have like a pretty automated way to throw him in here on our rig once he's the same scale using Drake's base head.
He mocapped me too, so that's pretty much my default idle.
I was creeping on him over the desk, and he's just looking around. Yeah, you can see it's on the base mesh with the wireframe there. So from here, you can further refine it. Obviously, there's still some light baked into the texture there. So that's our head scan. And now I'm going to go through a little bit of early production on Hector. Hector's hit a talking part in Uncharted 4, and this kind of shows some early process and iterations as we go. Hector, I built him from a base mesh, and so he already had UVs, and then you can sculpt on top, throw him in the game quickly, and then as you're iterating on the normal map and the high poly, you can constantly throw him in different lighting situations and try him out. I threw him, I think this is Hector's head on Sully's body and hair with Sully's texture, because everything just works, because you're just sharing things. We're using different eyebrows and stuff as we go, trying different lighting situations. Roughing in some terrible hair right now. As we go, different eyebrows, some facial hair, colors, roughing in the hair. So this is just a quick sculpt from like a Z-sphere and then decimated down so we can throw it in the game. Iteration on like skin passes, different hair. It's quite a few. I'll go pretty quick. Oh my God.
Usually for our main character pipeline, our secondary main character pipeline, we have a lot of very specific directions from the directors. So a lot of it changing that he's going through is actually very slight changing, but we pay attention to a lot of details. So there's just a lot of it. There's a lot of illustration.
Yeah, there's a lot roughed in, and then you go, like I would outhand screenshots off or call over the concept artist. This is Hyung Nam, who worked on the concept for this. working tightly with him to make sure that I'm following the direction that he was initially given from the director, Neil, and making sure it's in sync. And then sometimes there might be a different direction you take, like you might grab something else from a different actor and then try something else on. At this point, so the hair cards, obviously all the UVs are overlapping each other, so you'd have to create some gray hair, you'd have to duplicate that card, that color texture, and then move your UVs to fit that. And I don't want to have to do that, so to have like a fade in this gray hair, which I was trying to do, I had to mask using, so I had like a second layer on my shader, on my hair, and then I masked into that second layer using vertex color, so that every vertex was unique on that hair, and so I can mask, pretty much paint where I wanted my gray hair to be on the guy. And so that saved us on a lot of color texture. And we started using that on beards and stuff. I think Sully adopted some of that too. Different lighting situations, you're tuning the hair, and then kind of or Yibing's gone already?
Yeah.
Yeah, working with the hair card situation we had, some of the normal maps. Normally, when I'm taking these screenshots through production, there's problems I'm having, and then I take a screenshot, and then I bring it to someone else, and so I think these normals weren't showing up as clean as I was hoping. A little bit more iteration. This is the final. Hector. And then I'll go through one more thing here. This is the title screen. Oh, what the? I'm having nightmares of that guy tonight. This is the title screen that I was very happy to get. And there's a lot of, I work really closely with John Sweeney on this one. And the process that I had with like this sort of setup is that involves so much with lighting, and environment, and shot, and camera angle that you want to get as much in the game as you can as possible and just do a full iterative process with everyone else that's on it. So I think it felt like there was 6 or 8 people, kind of like a little core team working on this at the time as they're doing things on the side. And so I'd sculpt this guy out and then do just a quick decimation, create like a very flat color texture with different areas, and then unwrap sections, just do like a big broad face selection, unwrap that, move the UVs in whatever section I want that color, just to get some things in there. So we're just trying different poses out. The lighting, you can see the lighting is changing a little bit, throwing in some little bit of hair. Some texture work. Once you go through Substance Paint here, getting some stuff in there too. Hair still rough here. Texture passes. What we got going on? Here, this is finally got some of the alpha cards in there for the hair here. That's the final. So it's pretty nice working on this because we want to be able to check everything you can in game because everything changes once you get in a different lighting setup, and then be able to have this guy on the title. Whenever I booted the game, I was immediately checking my workout, so it's really quick to do iterations. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Ooh.
So for me, I'm going to talk about the aging process that I took Sam through. Sam is, if you don't know in the story, Drake's brother, and one of the process for him, or one of the thing that we needed for him in game was for him to show age progression throughout the game. Ashley Swidowski, who is a concept artist behind some of this, as well as Hyung Nam, I believe. He basically working with Ashley, did a bunch of the concept for Sam. I think Ashley did mainly Sam, but so the first character I made actually was Sam, the older Sam, I should say. I can show you some of the process for this one. It starts out a bit rough, but as Adam mentioned, it's basically all as we're working on the characters, it's constantly changing. We're constantly getting feedback from both the lead and the director as well. Of course. Jeez. So just going to go through some of these very quickly. So as you can see, we put it in game as quickly as possible, really rough, block out some of the features that he has. I know along the way, putting it beside Drake, because he had to stand in context with Drake, throughout the story. It was really important that they had a very similar feel. So a lot of things change along the way to make that possible. it's hard to tell, but I mean, along the way, there's changes, so subtle changes, such as like, you know, eye color and trying to match Drake's because they are relative. Later on, I think they made some other decisions towards that kind of stuff, but I remember this particular change was the skin color, so if you can tell from here to that one, just to unify both Drake and Sam in the same, you know, let me go back, sorry. You'll see a bunch of errors usually. So again, yeah, I remember, you know, along this time, the feel that they wanted for Sam was very gaunt, you know, for story reasons. He was in prison and a bunch of other things, and so they wanted a different feel for him. This one is just awesome, so I had to leave it in there. Just video game errors that pop up. I know along the way too, we tried a bunch of different hairstyles. So this is a very early, you know, mock-up of just like the shape. It wasn't working, and they wanted you know, different feel for him. So along the way as well, the shaders are constantly getting better. So we put it in different lighting setups as well to just see how the lighting is reading on the character. I'll just go through. Just going through a bunch of. So we're getting closer to what I think the final Sam ended up being. I think, again, just, you know, stuff like the hair here, the aging of these being too, I guess, white. You know, it just stands out too much on the beard, and that wasn't the correct age for him, I guess. They wanted it there, but it just wasn't the correct amount to signify the age of what he was supposed to be. This is when I remember a bunch of Yibing shaders started coming online for the hair, and we were working out the shape of the hair, the silhouette of it. We have a process where we create the hair in different layers. So, and I think Frank will talk more about that, but this is kind of like the very base, and then we start adding, you know, the more silhouette elements to it, checking it in the game and making sure the silhouette's reading, and he has no eyeballs. That's just wrong. Again, more. I think this was after we baked like a shadow map for the hair. So stuff like this, you know, it's hard to really see when that kind of stuff pops up, and usually it's a bunch of different departments. We'll bring it to someone, or someone will point it out, like, hey, you know, you can see through the character's hair, and that's not supposed to be there. So Yibing or a programmer would sometimes have to help with that. I think this is the final Sam that we ended up with in the game. Tone down like some of the gray on the eyebrows, stuff like that, and just have him look. It's hard. It's kind of hard because I mean I've been looking at this guy for so long. It's ridiculous, but he's changed a lot for sure. And I don't have all of the process. I wish I had more of like the early sculpts and stuff like that. But it's just kind of, again, just checking in different lightings, and just gonna go through this really fast.
There's probably a lot of changes that you don't even remember.
Yeah, exactly. They're so small. At Naughty Dog, they have very, you know, minute changes that they want to see, and the director has his own vision for the characters, and stuff like moles and, you know, cuts and you know, just small changes.
Yeah, like how long is the eyebrow, how thick is the eyebrow.
Right, stuff like that. And Frank had changes as well that he wanted to see, and so it was just balancing all of that. And again, it's probably hard to see the transition in these pictures, but it came a long way for sure. Okay, so I think I could probably show some of the other. Let's see. So after the older Sam was made, they wanted a younger version of this character. So I can probably show some of this stuff. Let me show this one first. So it started out around here, as Adam did. We kind of blocked in like the hair shape and threw it in game and stuff like that, just to see the character. As you can tell, like the color map has changed. And along the way, again, we're just getting feedback all the time from the director and Frank, and concept art as well. Yeah. subtle changes. And the challenge for the younger version was to have him feel like Sam, the older Sam, but because before this we have no idea of what young version of this character looks like. So throwing it in different lighting conditions, maybe hard to tell the difference between both of them. It's hard for me to this point, but it's very subtle stuff like this crease around his mouth, the hair being very rough at this point too. At this point, it's just getting it in and seeing what the silhouette of it looks like, and if that's the character that we're going for or not. Probably could have cut down on the amount of images, but so now the character is starting to come into shape. Soa helped a lot with the hair on this character. After we got it blocked in, she took it and created some of the hair cards at the time. So thanks, Soa. You're awesome. Yeah, so the character, just putting it in different, again, lighting situations and making sure it feels cool or feels like the concept. After the younger version was created, there was they wanted to tell the story of him, his time throughout prison, and so almost like a middle ground version, I forgot how old he was at that, 20, 24, 25?
Like mid-20s.
Yeah, mid-20s. Yeah, a version of him was created. For that one, the process for me was kind of, wrong one actually. The process for that one was kind of simpler. It was basically a blend shape between the older Sam and the younger Sam, 25, 50%. And we shared similar textures and, toned it down a bit, a lot of the wrinkles and stuff like that in his feature, just to make him feel a lot younger.
Changing the hairline?
Changing the hairline. I have a clip of that one as well. But so this is what it looks like in Maya before it gets put to the game, and you can see it's just a blend between the younger and the older one. I can just go from here, but so here's one of those changes that we had to make. It was subtle, but it was definitely still something that the director wanted. Changing the hairline, for this character and trying to get it to be an appropriate age marking. So even something as subtle as like his teeth shape, I know we had to model in, the shape of his teeth, and the fact that he was in prison for a while, just, he had bad teeth or kind of, yeah, just kind of grody. I think the color map of this eventually changed the gum, because this one's a bit too dark, I remember that. But and then this is what they all kind of look like in game. And we do this a lot too with a lot of the characters. I remember there was a time when we had each one of these characters beside Drake, just to make sure they're in the same world, because they eventually have to share the same space and same cinematics, and so we had to make sure that they all fit within that universe. Yeah.
So the room that you guys are seeing over here, we call it character lighting room. We have this lighting room, and we have a bunch of different lightings. And when we have our characters, and we just directly build in here, and we can just walk around and move to different lighting and make sure that they look consistent with Drake, belong to like Uncharted 4.
Yeah. So yeah, that's, here, let me see what else we can talk about. So again, like making sure the skin color was consistent throughout each character was kind of important. In this version, he's been through hell. He's gone through prison for a while, so he's a bit more, beat up and gaunt, and this is a younger version of him that hadn't seen a lot yet. Him and Drake are young, scrappy dudes. So yeah, that's kind of that for that guy. And I'm going to show just some of the final, I guess, shots of Sam in different outfits that we had to make in general for these guys. And if you saw, the big post that we did on a while back, these won't be any surprise, but just the final of what they look like in the game together. Some ZBrush shots. If I'm going through this too fast, just let me know. So yeah, that's kind of it for me. Yeah. Adam? Thanks.
All right.
Stuff.
That was cool.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Frankton. If you want to know more about my work, it's over here. There's some work that I do professionally and personal stuff. So because of time, I won't be able to show all the stuff. So there's Sully that I did for Uncharted 4. And I'm gonna go through Nadine's creation, head and hair basically. And I'm gonna show some wrinkle map creation just in ZBrush of Nathan Drake. Okay, so let's start with the wrinkle map. Okay. All right, so this is kind of the final model for Drake. Maybe when you guys first see it, you will think that the pore detail is very, very distinct. It's very, it's a lot. But a lot of stuff that we create in ZBrush, but we have to bake out the maps and finally put them into game. And whatever we have in ZBrush, and we bake out to normal map and all the maps, when we put it in game, it's not always, it's one-to-one. So a lot of it, I would like to do more like heavy-handed when I'm sculpting or doing pore detail and this kind of stuff, because in our shader system, we have like an overlay on the top of it. Our base normal, which is without any detail, and our pore detail normal is totally separated. So when I separated that, I can easily have a slider. Just if I think the pore detail is too much, I can just turn it down. If it's not enough, I can just turn it up. So this kind of detail works best for me personally. So I use ZBrush layers a lot, and I really like it. So right now, what I'm going to explain is just the creation of the wrinkle map. So it's not like how I sculpt the characters. Whenever I create the wrinkle maps, a lot of time I just do smooth on the top. So if I do smooth, it's just without any detail, just his basic form. And the process is, so credit for this, there's a lot of people that are working on this character. So I'm just lucky to be the one that actually finished it. A lot of people helping out on this character as well. I remember Sony San Diego did the first pass of the normal map, wrinkle map on the top of it, and we came back, we discussed it, and I changed on the top based on the direction of Neil. So there's a lot of people that involve. All right, so first I do a smooth on the top. And then we will get the shapes from our blend shape artist, which is our riggers. So in this case, I have a lot over here, right? This is all his blend shape or his layers. So we're talking about, this is what we call a corner puller. Remember, this kind of stuff, we're not trying to do an expression. We're trying to do a shape. So basically, this shape is whenever you can pull your lips apart as much as you can. So a lot of it is like more.
I see everyone trying to do it right
yeah,
now.
come on. Right.
Yes.
A lot of it is very exaggerated. So it's not like a smile pose per se. But if I do that, I will have just a pose, and then I will have a scope detail pose on the top of it, just kind of showing. So if I turn the detail on, this is not a lot, but if we were talking about like nose wrinklers and stuff, so this kind of stuff will have like a lot of more detail on the top of it. All right. And we have nose wrinkler. And our detail path is like this. So the benefit of separating anything in layers is just if I want to change something, I can just add it in this layer, and it will just affect this layer only. It won't change. A very important part of wrinkle map is whatever we get from riggers, we cannot change the pose or the shapes. We can only adding details and shapes on the top of it. So if this is the shape that we're getting, we cannot change all of this. All of this have to stay the same. We can only adding detail on the top of it. So that's the other benefit of you separating everything. And if you guys familiar with Morph Target, it gives you a lot of benefit. No matter what you do, you can just Morph Target back. So we have Parker's over here. So it's a kissing face. And this is something that we do, just putting more details on the top of it so all the features can stand out even more. And eventually all of this is gonna be baked in normal map. So we have blink, and we have a fix of blink. And yeah, this is the crossfeed. So remember, this is very exaggerated because a lot of time when this is actually go into the blend shape phase in game, this is, if we have 0 to 1, this is always 1. But a lot of times in game, the animator will just deal like 0.5, 0.6, and if that happens, it will be similar to that. So again, that's why we exaggerate things on the top of it.
And also, by the time this goes into game, the map, the texture resolution in general gets degraded to a slight, I think for the head, did you have a 2K normal map or 1K for the head?
No, it's 1K.
1K for the head. So yeah, so the normal maps are also, 1K, and they get down res sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's always better to exaggerate so that you can see it a little.
The largest detail map that we have for Drake is 2K in the end. Yeah, and everything else is just 1K texture map. A lot of it 512. Brow lower. So I'm also going to show something that I do just inside of ZBrush a lot, especially when I'm dealing with wrinkle map. So that's brow raise. There's a lot of it, so I don't want to go to each one of it. It's kind of boring. But I don't know if a lot of people know, but you can also do animations inside of ZBrush, just like this. So the trick part is there's different layers, and how do you do it at the same time? So, and I also figured this out. So you can see right now if I drag, it's kind of lagging, pretty slow, right? But if I go to subtool and I change to like ice, I don't want to, let me change something first. All right. So if I go to ice and I do it again, it's way more smooth and quick. All right? So that's another trick that you can do. I don't know why. I have to ask Paul. But yeah, this is what we do. If I were lagging, in animation, we just switch to another lower poly subtool, and we'll be fine. All right. So I'm just kind of want to show you guys how did I do this. First, you need to go to movie, and you need to just show your timeline over here. That's all you need to do, basically. And you see, you have a lot of layers over here. Let's just do the kissing face but so the Parker, that's called the Parker. So Parker is this, right? And I have a shape layer and I have a detail layer. All right, so right now, you can see this is over here. Right now it's layer 11 and it says Parker. It doesn't have anything over here. Remember, we already have animation from here all the way to here. So I'm gonna start from here all the way to here. So if I go to, here's one part. If you move your camera, just move your camera, your timeline will go to camera, and you don't want to click when you're on camera because that will just be camera changing. So you have actually go to the Parker, you have to click it first, and this will become Parker. And then this is without anything. So this is before animation, which I wanted to happen around this time and this time. Same thing over here for the detail. I wait until the Parker detail, and I put it exactly the same. But this is the default pose that I want. The change that I want will be in the middle. So the other thing, I click this. And I put this in the middle. The other thing is and I click this and put it in the middle. The other thing is if you don't want it, you can just drag it off. Drag it off. And you can just drag it off, drag it off. So since I drag it, I just want to do it again. Parker, over here, and over here. Over here, and over here. Now, we will have this pose over here. So the other thing I want to do is I want to do the same thing of blink. So also close his eyes. So I'm going to turn the value to 0 first and click this from here to here. Also from here to here. And turn the value to 1 in the middle. And click another one in the middle. All right. So I know it's going to be lagging, so I just switch to the other. So you can see that's the animation.
He's such a romantic. This guy's crazy.
Again. All right. So that's just some trick that I did, and some people in the team is using the same thing. It's enabled us quickly to see the shapes, adding the detail that we're putting on the top of it as a wrinkle map. So, yeah. So that's the wrinkle map part. Then I'm going to show you guys the Nadine creation. All right. So this is also called the main character pipeline for Uncharted 4. So as you guys, some of you might seen already, we have a big art dump on our station a while ago. So if you haven't seen anything, here's the link. You can just go to our station and type Uncharted 4. I'm sure that you can find a lot of related stuff. All right, so main character pipeline for Uncharted 4. Sorry, this is a bit messy, but the example will be Nadine Ross. So at first, creative director Neil Druckmann and character lead concept artist right now is Ashley and me. We have like a meetup, talk together, and talk about the background of the character, the age of the character, just a lot of this character related stuff. We talk very detailed of it. And this is the first concept of Nadine. you can see it's very, very different from the final game model that we have. So there's a lot of process going from here all the way, and I'm just gonna show you guys. So concept, head, and body. This is like the beginning of it, the head. And after we pick the head, and we're starting doing like hair variations, and you can see there's a bunch of variations over here, you know, like, and of course, as a character artist, I would love to make good characters, but for hair stuff, it's very, very challenging. So, of course, I don't want to do this, like curly stuff. But of course, Neo will always want to challenge us because we just, you know, he thinks that we are awesome. So he said that this is the hair that he wants right away. So this is the kind of concept phase that we have. So we're talking about, we're just going online and search a lot of female features, and we want eyes of this, we want eyebrow of that, we want nose of this, we want a whole feeling of that. So it's like a bunch of characters, female characters combined together. So head and body, this is the body part. You know, I think actually it's the one who did this, if I'm not wrong. So we ended up picking more than one in this concept. We ended up picking two. And this is like what we call a call-out sheet. So we have the concept on top of it, and we have a lot of references showing that, oh, this is this kind of material, this is that kind of material. What kind of build do we have? Like the boots, the pants. All this is a very, very specific model. So head first pass. So this is like a very, very fast block-in. So I sculpt this and do a very fast texture. So this is the original concept, and this is the first pass of my 3D sculpting. We did it very quick, and of course the hair is photoshopped in to just kind of get an idea how this will look with the hair. And this is the in-game render, just like what everyone was showing you. It's just a process. And this is the head, how it looks before. And at that time, everyone likes the character. They said we're heading in the right direction. It looks pretty much like the concept. So at that time, we just keep going and develop and give it more detailed pass. So you can see like texturing, and we always compare with the other character because in this case, we compare to Elena because they all need to belong to the same world. So you can see on this nating pass, I'm adding more details to it. I'm adding like molds, freckles, skin details, and I'm be adding like the scars on the top. So everyone likes it. So far, it's all good. And that takes the whole process, I think, from the beginning to this point is like a week, I think, or two. And then we decided, after we added hair, Neo decided that this is not going to work for the final game. So we scratched the character. We starting like redoing it from scratch. So we started reconcepting, finding more references, and this is another pass. And we always have like a comparison. So this is the new head, and this is the old one. So we all agree, in the end, we all agree that the new one is more realistic in a way. So we all agree that we're gonna go for the new one instead. So all this, you can see this different shape of the head, but using exactly the same texture. So the point of this is for the director or the concept artist to just focusing on the shape because the texture is not different at all. So in the end, we pick the middle one. And this is the final model in ZBrush. And I'm going to show the sculpt in ZBrush later, and also the final in-game process as well. So here is we testing the lighting and the skin port detail, different lighting situation. And after that, we're starting to sculpt Nadine's arms. Because Nadine, before, her arm is like this. It's like, there's no a lot of definition. It's just kind of regular arms. But we want a very specific feeling of Nadine. Because if you guys play the game, or a few times, he kicks Drake's ass. Not even Drake, like Drake.
Both of them, yeah.
Yeah, Drake
And Sam.
Sam together. And they cannot beat Nadine. So we want a very specific type of her arms. We have a lot of references. And then in the end, we just basically sculpt on the top of it. So I'm going to show that later, but this is the final in-game arms that we have from different views. And all of them, all of our main characters, they have a lot of outfit at the same time. Drake alone, because he's the main character, we have at least like 14 different outfits just for him throughout the game. And this is not including some changing meshes that we have. For example, I remember doing like the fight in the ballroom auction. We have a specific shirt just for the fight. And that's actually counting like one variations as well. So in the end, probably like more than 15, 16, or probably 20. And this is the final in-game arms that we have. I was going to talk about the scan process that we have, but I think Adam is showing a lot already, so I'm going to skip that pass, but I'm going to talk about Nadine's hair creation really quick. Paul, do we have 5 minutes? Or really? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so the hair creation path of Nadine Ross. So this is kind of roughly how long you take, but in the end, we ended up changing a lot of it. So the creation time is definitely more than 2 to 4 weeks. So I kind of breaking all this to several points, and I'm going to show each one of it later. So first one is gathering references and plan it out, and I'll show you later. And I was just starting, like, okay, so gathering references. So all this is kind of reference that we have. This is the overall feeling that we want, but at the same time, we want the middle point to look like this, and we want the transition point from her skin to the hair to look like this. And also, Yibing was talking about back scatter, and we want the kind of flying hair feelings when she has back scatter on the top of her. So all this is very, very specific directions. So modeling part, a lot of people were asking about the modeling or texturing part in Uncharted 4 for characters. So we basically for Nadine's hair, because it is like, I've never done something like this before. So the easy way that I'm thinking about is because it has so much value. Like, it's like thickness, and there's no way that I can just put cards everywhere that is translucent. So it will just be very, very heavy. And I know that in the end, we probably won't be able to even put her in game. So we have to think of something smart. Of course, at this process, it's kind of just plan it out. And I talk with a lot of people asking he or she, if you are doing this, how would you do it? What's the process that you would take? So it's like kind of brainstorming just in a team. In the end, we decided that we would create layers on the top of it. But the base layer, you can see like the base layer. So I don't know how much you guys familiar with like alpha. If you have more white this is a black and white map. You cannot see any holes in the middle. That means cheaper. And in this kind of map, you can see a lot of holes. That means like a lot of detail need to be showing through transparency. That would consider more expensive. So for the base pass, a lot of it, we just use this kind of overall big chunk of hair type. So once we get it in, it's covered. You can have very less transparency because all basically is white inside. So you don't see a lot. So it's just kind of give it a very large shape block just for Nadine's shape. And then after this, the first layer, this is what the card I'm using. I'm adding the cards on the top of it to kind of adding the feeling that she has curvy hair on the top of it. But so far, all this that we're doing from base to layer 1 to layer 2, this is all cards. And how do we kind of fake that feelings? There's actually curvy geometry in the creation of Nadine's hair, but a lot of it, we use painting, kind of cheating on the top of it, because there's no way we can just throw all the curly geos on the top of it. This is way too heavy for us to put it in the game. So we have to think smart, and then when placing each geometry, we have to think of a smart way to do it as well. At the same time, kind of tricking people to think this is curly hair, but actually just kind of card on the top of it. Of course, during this process, Yibing helps a lot too, because her shader, we bake out a shadow map. Shadow maps is casting on each shadow of the alpha. So it's kind of giving people, kind of tricking people to think that, oh, those are real geometry, those are real curvy geometry because it's cast shadow on the top of the other hairs. So the layer 2 is still adding even more. And now we have a process of adding curly geos on the top of it. And this is the geo that we're adding on the top. And you can see, we cannot see the back of it, but you can see like, the tricky part of this is you only want to add the curvy geo when you turn the 3D around it, you want to trick people, you want to have people seeing it, especially around the silhouette part, like in the edge of the hair. So people will think, oh, this is actually a curvy geo on the top of it. So you can see on the silhouette part, next to it, I put a lot of it, but in the middle, basically, we have nothing to show. This is, because it's just cards. So, and finally, not finally, but we have flying hairs on the top of it. So flying hairs just give that kind of feeling when the light shining through, you have that backscatter, and you have this kind of feelings on the top of it. The final that we have is, this is the transition hairs. So there's a lot of cards, and since the transition hairs, as you guys can see from the previous concept, is very specific. So I need a lot of hair cards to give it a lot of variations to kind of make people feel that the transition is actually very smooth. So in game, it will look like this. This is like the first and the second layer. And adding like second layer, third layer. So it's adding more and more. And you can finally see here, it's like adding geometry on the top of it. And adding flying hair and also the transition hairs on the top of it. So this is the final hair that we have in game. Different views. This is just a beauty shot of it. And if you guys beat the game, you guys will be able to see this, but I'm just showing a video. So, it's playing, right? Okay. So just basically showing Nadine's model. The model viewer over here it's exactly the same what you get from in-game. A lot of games, if you're showing this kind of beauty model, they will have a more high-res one, but unfortunately, we don't have the memory bandwidth to do this. So all you are seeing in our game of this feature, it's all you get in the game. So you can see the hair moves very nicely as well in game. And we tried a lot of ways to move her hair, and this one is how we got the final result. The credit definitely goes to a lot of rigging teams. Tyler is one of the main one that create this kind of effect for our moving hairs, for a lot of our hairs. Yep. All right, so next I'm gonna just show Nadine's model in there.
Are we on time?
What?
5.
Oh, yeah, almost done. All right. So, where is it? There. So this is the final model of Nadine. If I change the material, go to lighting. We use this a lot. I have a custom-made one, but I don't have it over here. But you can zoom in and see all the detail paths that we're doing on Nadine's arms or head. All the skin details. So yeah, this is for Nadine. And finally, I prepared some videos that I want to show, but I don't know if we have time. But it's just some of it that if you don't pay attention, you won't see it in game, but that's something that we spend a lot of time creating just for the game. One of it I want to show is our underwater hair. So this kind of feeling is actually, it's the same feeling that we have for the wind system that we have, but it's like a way more exaggerated one, and it's perfect. In the end, it's perfect for the underwater hair. So you can see hair moving very softly, just like this. And have Drake model close up. And all the features, Yibing also kind of showed it. It's very powerful. That's things that we can do for all the shaders in game that we have. So there's a lot of back and forth teamwork on the top of it.
Is that me?
Pretty much Adam's crotch.
Yes. So Adam was the model for a lot of Drake's shapes. Not shapes, but clothing.
The things you can tell your children.
Yeah. I was once Drake's
butt.
model. His butt.
Not only communicated, I am gay.
But yeah, that's basically what I got.
Cool.